Hey, everybody, welcome back. It's Armchair Quarterbacks Mile High Edition. I'm Michael Worth.
I am Nick Duran, and before we get started, make sure you guys like and subscribe somewhere on the bottom of this thing.
Hit
Share
that
it,
little
share
thumbs up.
hit that thumbs up button. But a lot of great things to talk about this week in Denver sports,
Yeah,
from the
exciting
Broncos
week.
defense, Nuggets trades. Uh, I was going to say spring training's over, opening days this week in Denver. So a lot of fun things to talk about. But Mike, let's start with the Nuggets, your favorite team of all time.
Yes,
Made some major moves this week. What are your thoughts? How do you feel?
we did what I thought that we needed to do. We needed to make a move. I really am a fan of the JaVale McGee move. He gives us room, a rim protector. Hartenson was not getting minutes, so at the end of the day, we don't lose anything. McGee has won, what is it, 3 championships in the last 4 years or something like that. It's not JaVale McGee of 2013 Denver Nuggets. Shaqtin' a fool. He's been around. He knows how to win. He knows how to compete in that role off the bench. So he's a big move for us. I think he adds a lot of value. Now,
Yeah, I agree with that. We were missing someone on defense. So we talked about a couple weeks back from a Drummond standpoint or a Blake Griffin standpoint. We're just missing that key defensive player that I think that he definitely fills that gap coming off the bench, like you said.
yeah, and he is not the exciting move. The exciting move, if you probably already know, is Aaron Gordon. And Aaron Gordon is going to be a big piece for us defensively and athletically and a shooter. He's a good spot up 3-point shooter. I think I read somewhere he was shooting 42% on spot up threes. He's not overall is like 34, 35%, but he's not going to be creating in this Denver offense. So he's going to slash, he's going to spot up, and he's going to lock down those big wings that are giving us fits right now. Zion, well, he was like 16 for 17 for 30 some odd points the other night, and no
Yep.
answer for him. And he is the guy who's going to cover those big wings. He's going to cover those faster offensive players that we just
Yep.
have no answer to. So I'm really excited. They should be tipping off right now. We're looking at
Against the Hawks tonight.
yep,
Yep, you're right.
against the Hawks. So we'll get both those guys playing tonight. So I think we got better. The one thing that I am upset about this weekend is that Will Barton is still on our team. Now, what does it say? What does it say about the overall thoughts of Will Barton across the NBA boards if the Orlando Magic would rather have a $20 million salary of Gary Harris, who is hurt, versus a $13 million plus a trade exception of Will Barton?
Well, it says a lot. It says you're right, and you bitching and moaning about Will Barton for the last month has not gone unnoticed by the around the NBA.
Uh,
Someone clearly from the front office of the NBA watched our podcast and tweeted out for the entire league to see that
do
Will Barton.
not. I thought
Will
we
Barton.
I thought we were going to swindle a deal from the Sixers, but it didn't work.
No.
I'm really kind of nervous about Gary Harris. If it wasn't for Gary Harris last year, we probably don't beat the Jazz. Come playoff time, if he's healthy, he does add a lot of chemistry to our team, and he adds a lot of defense. So that move is gonna that one's gonna like
Yep.
wait to.
I agree. I agree. I feel, in time will tell. We're going to get a good look tonight, kind of how they look with the new additions. I do agree with you from a Gary Harris standpoint. I, Aaron Gordon, I just don't think he's as good as shooter as a Gary Harris. From a points averaging standpoint, they're about even, but the difference being is that Gordon's taken between the 2 footers to the 10 footers versus some of the outside stuff. And
Yep,
from a lockdown defensive guard
we
standpoint,
got nobody.
we don't have that player. He, I think, is going to be a great from a deep, from a inside the paint. But to your point, we did lose our best guard player, and so that time will tell on who's going to step up to fill that role. Because I don't think Jamal Murray, from a defensive standpoint, he's kind of middle of the road. He's mediocre.
Yep.
He's definitely not that that caliber of defense that you know that you could put on the other team's best guard or best player and know that they're gonna lock them down from not maybe not 30 points a game but 17.
Yeah, no, definitely. The other guy in the trade was RJ Hampton. I'm a huge fan of RJ Hampton, but his age just it doesn't fit our timeline. So I'm okay with seeing him blossom somewhere else. I think he's going to be a really good player in 4 years. He's gonna make a lot of improvements over in Orlando, getting minutes, but he doesn't fit our timeline, unfortunately. So he was somebody who, if that was, I guess I heard the breaking point was that is the guy that Orlando wanted. So that was the one that they needed to make the trade happen. And if that's the case, then he's got to be included, because Gordon, although it feels like he's been in the league forever, is still young.
Yeah, I mean, he came in the league in 2014.
I think he's
So
like 25 years old or something like that. So he's not old. He's actually younger than Gary Harris. So same contracts, same, but at the end of the day, when now we need to make a move, because everybody who's getting bought out is signing with the Lakers and the Nets. So
yeah,
did you see the today LaMarcus Aldridge signed with the Nets, and
he's 48 years old.
it wouldn't be bad to have for 10 minutes. And then Andre Drummond signed with the Lakers. So we need it's good that we got the size, because they're getting size. I do think come basketball time, our top five is as good as anybody's top five. So that's playoff basketball, your 7 best players. So we need to get into a rhythm.
So speaking of playoff basketball, we're sitting in the 5th seed right now in the West. Utah's looking very, very good. However, the Lakers are struggling a little bit with they've caught the injury bug over the last couple of weeks, and they just don't look as cohesive as they used to. So do you think with the new additions we're gonna we have an opportunity to slide to 4th and 3rd going into that playoff run?
Yeah, I do. I think we could get up to 3rd. I think the Suns and the Jazz might be the 1-2 seeds this year, but the Lakers are going to lose some more games with both James and Davis out. The Clippers are still up there in the 3rd spot, but I think we've already been gaining ground on most of these teams. We've been playing really well the last couple of weeks. So as long as these two pieces fit into our rotation and we got better and the chemistry is not affected, then there's no reason we shouldn't be the 3rd seed this year.
I just can't get over still that the Suns are the 2 seed right now.
They got the point guard. Everywhere Chris Paul goes, he wins games for the team. Last year with the Thunder, I mean, everybody thought Thunder was a lottery team. This year the Suns the Suns were terrible last year. And they added a couple different pieces, him being the key.
But it's going to be interesting to see. I think we're going to we came out on the positive end of that trade deal, and
for sure,
in my opinion. And so, and even the analysts are giving us an A- on that trade and then a C+. So
yeah,
we're looking a lot better. I think we're better positioned to make a better run.
Yeah,
even this year or even next year type of thing. I just think we'll make another move in the off season or free agency next year to get maybe another shooter, another defensive guard. But I like our options and I like our chances looking forward.
If we can make a deep playoff run, let's say we make it to the Western Conference Finals again, 7 games in, or even to the finals this year or whatnot, maybe we could get a couple of those low contracts from some veteran players that can actually make a difference without busting the salary cap. So hopefully this is a corner that we've turned. Aaron Gordon is got some popularity in the NBA among fans, so we'll get a fan base from Aaron Gordon, and Jokic is Jokic. So
I'm excited too because Nuggets are finally allowing the fans back starting next week, so it's going to be
what is it, like 4,000?
4,000 out of 19, but it's better than 0.
So 4,000 people get to see the game in Colorado.
It'll be fun though. It'll be good times. But so speaking about fans in Colorado, 21,000 fans are expected to be at the Rockies opening day on Thursday. I'm excited. Clearly, we've talked about the Rockies. I'm not excited for the outcome of the seasons, but at the end of the day, it's opening day in Denver. It's a fun time.
Holiday. It's a
and
holiday, so
it's supposed to be 70 degrees, and so you can't beat that. Unfortunately, we opened up against Trevor Bauer and the Dodgers. However, uh, it's like I'm hopeful for game one.
it's like you said, it's opening day. Everybody's World Series contenders this year until the second week, but we usually play really well in that first game. It's like a playoff atmosphere in Colorado. We've touched on this before. Everybody lines up outside on Blake Street. Everybody spends all day. My family, I don't think they're doing it this year, but they've done the balloon release every single year on opening day.
Oh,
They're the ones in
in the
center field and in
outfield,
the
yeah.
outfield.
How do
Um,
they get to do that?
um, they got contracted a long time ago, back when the Rockies were a new franchise to do it. They did the All-Star Weekend. I actually did the All-Star Weekend. I got to go out on a center field and release the balloons for that. That was really cool. Um, but they make it like this big, huge festivity. I mean, there's fireworks, there's drinking, there's the bars are open all day. People call out of work. So I implore Rockies fans to go enjoy opening weekend, do your opening day thing, and then stop going to the games.
I I completely agree. Unfortunately, I wish we're both going to be wrong on that one because they just won't stop going. But to your point, though, I think they should make it where in Denver, because companies know how big of a deal opening day is for the city in the state of Colorado. They should make either a opening day a half day because the games are always like in the 2 o'clock hour, which is a goofy time, but and or the day after is a is a is
Yeah,
a is an off day.
yeah, like or a back half day. You just come in after one and finish
Yeah,
the second half. I
it
mean,
should. If I was the governor of Colorado, it would be a state holiday for sure.
there that is something that we should look into. We're
We
building our listening crowd, so
we just have to write our local congressmen and men and women, and maybe get them to push a bill through to make opening day a national, not national,
national, just a
uh,
local holiday,
a
local
state
holiday,
holiday.
just a half holiday. It doesn't have to be a full holiday. Everybody could either get out of work at 11. You could have that option: get out of work at 11 or go into work after 1 the next day, sort of thing.
Yep.
All businesses, unless you're a bar near Lodo, is shut down.
Yes.
I
100%.
like that.
Schools are closed. Schools are closed. Every parents are going to be pissed because they're probably just getting off of spring break.
Yeah, I like that a lot. We'll put our word in and see how we do.
So spring training, we looked, we look like a 500
Yeah,
baseball.
we look mediocre.
Yeah.
That which is a very very big step forward.
But here's the thing, though: if we go 500 in this season, I'm going to be okay with that
Yeah,
because that's just kind of how, it's going to be way above expectations from my standpoint and kind of what we talked about
yeah.
potential
I
losing.
think my best case scenario in my head is like 78 wins, 77 wins. So um, if we could get anywhere around 80 wins, I mean, I think would exceed anything that I can expect.
Yep. The big story from a Rocky standpoint, though, is losing Scott Oberg because he looked
Yeah.
absolutely phenomenal in spring training. I was excited to get him back from a mid release standpoint because the Rockies mid relievers are absolutely terrible.
They're
He was
terrible
going to
to unknown to not very good. Yeah. So
correct. He was going to bring stability in, but it's super unfortunate that the blood clots are back in his arm, and so he actually might be done
forever.
forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, not coming back to baseball at all, and so it's a super big disappointing news coming out of Denver from a Scott Oberg standpoint.
Yeah. So, I mean, I hope for his sake he can get better. I think, once he stops throwing, that the clotting will probably stop and he just won't be able to throw anymore.
Right.
But first and foremost, he should just take care of himself. If he can't pitch again, it sucks for the Rockies, but it's better than the alternative.
I agree.
But Kyle Freeland's hurt. Brendan Rodgers is hurt. We haven't even played a game yet. And I think, what is it? Freeland, is he on the 60-day disabled list or what is he on?
I believe he's on the 60-day disabled.
I mean,
list.
that's rough.
I mean, yeah, you're starting until June.
Yeah, and so now we got Chichi Rodriguez as our 5. That's not going to be good.
It's a loss every time he pitches.
Yeah, and so the top four look okay as long as
But yeah, my
Bray.
boy Gomber's moving up the list. He didn't even have
Yeah,
to pitch.
he
He's a
got
one.
lit up this weekend.
He did.
He gave up what 4 home runs in 2 innings or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
But
It
that's
was.
okay. They can't all be
You know, be like
winners.
that's valid. Um, and so 77 wins, best projection for you.
That's if
Worst.
everybody has career years. Like if you're taking like your bell curve and everybody has the top of their bell curve. If Story hits 40 home runs, drives in 100 RBIs, and hits 300. If Blackman can get to that 30 home run mark again, hitting over 300. So I'm talking about like if everybody has their career years, then I think we could get to 77, 78 wins.
Do you know how sad that is? That if everyone has their career years,
Yeah,
that
right.
that just sounds so pathetic coming out of your mouth. It's like
I mean, like, because I do this every year. I think, okay, so I go down the lineup. Okay, if this guy can, if Arenado could get to his 42 home runs and Story could get to his 35, and if this guy could do this guy could do this, I could see us winning 94 games. This year, it's like, nah, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
yeah, it's gonna be an interesting first month of the season. I'm curious to see though, like Julie, you know, this might be the year with the fan base, being that we had a year off, so
Mm-hmm.
everyone's 1 year removed from any live sports anywhere for the most part.
Yep.
And so we might catch a break with the Rockies and
Yep.
forcing them to make moves that they don't want to make. I know my dad mentioned last week about just drafting pitching from now on. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that'd be a really interesting um, take in this year's draft. Is this, hey, like we just dropped 42 pitchers.
Yeah. I mean, the Mumfords are going to be on the hot seat to fire Burdich. Um, and the fan base is to a tipping point. Every year they kind of talk about, oh, this and that, and I'm so sick of this and I'm so tired of that. But then it's never gotten to where it is right now. I think we've kind of boiled over. So hopefully we win. But in reality world, hopefully everybody has had enough. We put enough pressure on them to make some internal
Right.
changes, make them earn their dollar, sort of. If the players have to earn it, then the owners should have to earn it. So
I wish from a salary standpoint or from a compensation standpoint, and this would never happen, but this is like my pipe dream, is that it is 100% like, let's call it 85% commission based or performance based. So everyone in the entire league is paid a league minimum.
yeah,
And then from the league minimum, you get, X amount of dollars per hit up to 50 and then up to 75, up to 100. Same thing with RBI, stolen bases, strikeouts, balls, walks, everything is all performance based. And then that way, you don't get stuck with these massive ass contracts like we did with, like an Ian Desmond or anyone or Todd Helton.
what would be the
The
I mean,
incentive would,
obviously players would never go for this because you get hurt and you'll never make your money or whatever. But
right. So like
theoretically, it's a really cool idea. What would be like? Would it be a $50 million max out or whatever sort of thing? And so,
well,
like,
the incentive would be there would be no max out. So for example, like if you have a killer year, like the 1 year that you know
like Barry Bonds hitting 73 home runs in that year.
you get paid $60 million.
That'd be cool. I mean, yeah, it'd be a cool concept in sports.
It gives you the, and then one, like from a business standpoint, maybe just teach these athletes to be a little bit better financially with their money because they know it's not going to be the guaranteed next year. And so but you don't get hurt with a Charlie Blackman type contract when $119 million. You never give him that. So he had this 2 good years, and in those years he's making $38-40 million a season because of the stats that he's putting up. But then when he hits a 235 and with 20 home runs, he's only going to make 10 million.
I could just picture owners boxes like Major League Two, or Major League One, where the owner is up there wanting the team to lose and suck, and they're just like doing everything to sabotage them. So you got these guys making the best team ever assembled in baseball, coming out and everybody's hitting a 375 with 40 home runs and the payroll's up to like $700 million, and the owners are just doing whatever they can. They don't want to win anymore. They just want to like throw it all away.
But that would make it so much more entertaining to watch, knowing that it would on every play someone's making something, and
Yeah,
it's I mean they do it currently, obviously, which is, but it's broken down differently, and as a
right.
fan,
There's player incentives.
right,
There's
and so
different
like,
ways to.
but if you had a book, if you like, if they had a new salary book, where you're like, oh, a strike is worth this much, and a strikeout is worth this, you could literally say, hey, like you could just be yelling at players all day long. Oh, you lost $38. It's going to be more than that. But at the end of the day, the
Right, right.
concept would be fun.
It would almost be gambling without actually having to gamble. So you're watching other people gamble. It's like sitting around the craps table without actually participating, and you're just getting
Yes,
excited when people are winning and you're not even winning. So it would be really fun from a fan standpoint. Uh,
100%. And
like I mean,
the players would play harder. They would
yeah.
play harder every single game because dollars and cents are on the line.
Cal Ripken's unbreakable record of games played in a row would get broken. I mean,
Mhm.
people would play 162 games every year, or every single year. They would play through little nicks and bruises. They would do what they could to suit up, because that meant the difference in potentially $1 million that day.
Correct. And so that's where I think it would be fun. The league would never go for it. It's a pipe dream for me. But, and it's truly the only sport that you could do it in.
I don't know. Maybe you could do it in like everything. A running back gets 100 or $1 or $1,000 a yard or something like that. I mean, I think you could go with it. You could get it going.
Yeah, it would
Now it
be
would be
so
hard for a lineman. Like
exactly.
it
But
would be
from a
hard for a
baseball
lineman.
standpoint, everyone plays the
Everybody in baseball plays the
everyone
same. Yeah,
hits. Like it's just kind of pitchers are a little bit different, but they have a completely different structure. It would just be fun to see happen.
I agree. Um, so the Avalanche, they had a big series against the Knights. They won one and then took a loss in overtime, but they're still rolling.
Avalanche
When
is
we were
great.
starting to get down on them, they were way down in the standings. Now they're a point behind the Knights in their division. So
Yeah, I mean, I think they're like sixth or seventh overall in the league.
so they've moved up 10 spots in the last week and a half. So
Yeah, I mean,
they're
they
rolling.
must have listened. They also must have listened like the NBA listens to us. The Avalanche, took our advice and said, we're gonna run with it or
Yeah.
skate with it.
Yeah, so I mean, injury bugs are creeping on them too, back on the blue line.
They got to
And
make. I think they have to make, because the trade deadline is 2 weeks from Monday,
mm-hmm,
and so I still think they got to go out and get another defenseman,
mm-hmm.
because of the injury bugs. There's not a ton of people. I read an article the other day about a potential left wing trade with the LA Kings.
Yeah,
Lafalo.
I saw that one. Yeah, I saw that one.
And so,
He's having a little bit of an off year, but he is a great player, and
yep, he'd
he's
be
just
a third line for sure.
Mhm.
But still an addition to the team. And like Joe Sakic is a whiz at, from a GM standpoint. He needs to call Jeff at the Rockies and give him some pointers. But uh, Joe makes trades at the very, very last minute, the 10th,
Mhm.
11th hour. So I'm curious to see kind of what he's going to do in the next couple of weeks
Yeah,
to shore up some of those
he
gaps that we have.
he has built this team through trades. He has done such a good job of not going and breaking the bank in free agency. He's
And
drafted well. I mean, look
very
at so funny thing is I saw Matty Ice might be on the trade block, and that got me thinking, like, this whole team is set up because of that trade. We got a lot of talented players from that. It
yeah.
started we were terrible, so we had like the first overall pick, got McKinnon, and we got what we ended up getting, making the playoffs that year and getting the third pick to pick up McCarr. That was the year we got
Yeah.
McCarr. That was that trade, and then we got another real hype draft pick from that. So, and he didn't even play with that team, but it was Was it the Senators?
Yep.
Yeah, he didn't even play with them very long. He's with the Predators now. But I just got to thinking, like, Sakic has made some killer trades to make this team better. So
Would you
I'm
bring him
hoping
back?
they make a small move, minor move. That's the cool thing about hockey. It's not a superstar driven league like the NBA. You need good players to eat up ice time on the third line. You need good players to score goals on the second line. If you have the look at the Connor McDavid and what's his face, two of the best players in the entire league, and they can never win games.
Right. And
So
here's the thing. I mean, obviously, to your point, yes, the difference between hockey and NBA is, more players on the ice. Um, from a, you run with your top five, top seven, maybe top eight in the NBA. You never get to that 12th man. You're at, 19, 20, 20, 21 players in the NHL are getting significant ice time. And I say significant as in like plus or minus 13, 14, 15 minutes a game.
mhm.
So, yes, to your point, you're not going to have 20 superstars. You're going to need those role players. The good news for the Avalanche is that they're in a great position because they have about 4 million in cap space going into the trade deadline, and so they have the room, the salary cap room, to make a good enough move or get someone on a 1 year contract, let them play out the season, and then look at a longer term deal after that. But they have some dollars to play with over the next couple of weeks to truly make the team just better as a whole. They don't need a superstar. They have them. They need those role players that are going to come in and elevate that team.
Yep, exactly. And so we'll keep our eyes open and our ears open and see if they can get something.
So speaking of players coming in to elevate a team, man, did the Broncos make some moves on their defense?
Now, how much pressure if you're Drew Lock?
Oh
How you
my
feeling
God.
right now, man? You look up and down this roster, and that defense especially. The offense is still young, but that defense especially, on paper at least, is as good as any defense is going to be next year.
Correct.
Um, they have Fuller, who was an All-Pro in 2018, and Darby on the other side, who's a very good corner. They brought back Kareem Jackson. They have Justin Simmons and Bryce Callahan at the slot. So you got the five very, very, very good defensive backs. You're going
Yes.
to get pressure with Von Miller and Chubb. And then the interior is really good with Harris and some other big guys clogging the middle. I can't think of who our nose tackle is. Um, but we got some big boys up front, and we have some fast guys on the back end. So maybe the one piece on defense that we're missing is a cover linebacker for those tight ends that we've talked about. We could probably upgrade there, but I don't see any other spots where I'm like, man, I think we need to upgrade.
No, I completely agree. We made all of the right moves. Hats off to the new GM pulling the trigger on a lot of these players that I think took our defense from you know top 15, top 16 defense to absolutely top five going into this next season. And now, to your point, it's up to Drew Lock. Unfortunately, I'm not on the Drew Lock train. I think he's absolutely terrible, and his stats prove it. Like actions speak louder than words, and I don't care how optimistic he sounds or what he's working on or whatever. But in the 18 games that he's played, statistically
Not
speaking,
good.
he's the worst quarterback in the league through 18
Not
games.
good.
His QBR is a 61.8. He has he has
Which was
no
like 34th or something out of eligible quarterbacks, which means he was worse than two backups.
correct. No quarterback in the league has thrown or has a higher uncatchable rate from a pass standpoint at like a little over 25%
Right.
than Drew Lock, and it's just a really unfortunate situation for the Broncos to be in. They have so many weapons on offense, a now stout defense. Barring any injury, knock on wood, but to be put in that situation to be an NFL quarterback as is probably a very difficult job to begin with, and
Yeah.
then to have the expectations be middle of the road going into his rookie season, and then even this last season, the expectations weren't that high because as a collective team, we weren't there. We weren't the Chiefs. We weren't the Saints, we weren't Green Bay, but now we are. And so, or we have the potential to be,
Right.
barring any, injury like we talked about. But so from a pressure standpoint, yes, like it just turned up to 100
Yeah.
for Drew
And
Lock.
um, to your point with Drew Lock and his uncatchable rate, I look at him and I watch him play. He has a terrible tendency to throw as he's fading backwards.
He throws off his back foot
Every single
all the
time he's
time.
falling backwards, and it's like, dude, because when he steps into his throw, which is one out of like 14 or 15, he throws a strike, but every single time he's throwing as he's fading, and it drives me nuts. And then as he throws the ball downfield, it reminds me of like a high school quarterback or a low end college quarterback who just throws it into an area, like he's throwing it into like a 10 by 10 box, 10 yard by 10 yard box, and he's hoping that a big play, something's going to happen to make it big. In the NFL, that doesn't work. You need to be able to hit a receiver in stride, because being open is half a step versus
Yes.
the receiver being 7 yards away from the closest defender. So it just doesn't work the way he's playing, and it shows.
It's
Um,
it's interesting. There's only one other player that I could think of that consistency is a wrong word, but I'll use it. Who has a tendency to kind of throw off his back foot, but the difference is that he's an elite quarterback and Drew Lock is not. And I'm talking about Aaron Rodgers. So Aaron Rodgers has a tendency to throw off his back foot. The difference being is that his back foot throw is Drew Lock's step and throw. And
right.
so, but you never see it. Like, a Phillip Rivers, a Drew Brees, a Peyton Manning, a Tom Brady, they step up into the pocket. They step up. Their body weight's going forward. They're doing the right things 99% of the time, which makes them a successful NFL quarterback on top of everything else. It's already a hard job as is. But if you just rely on athleticism and think that you are going to be able to be an Aaron Rodgers, he's so far out in left field, it's not even funny.
I mean, just to point out, I think if Aaron Rodgers was on our team right now, we would be AFC favorites up there with the Chiefs. That's how good I think our roster is right now. But one of the things that I saw this weekend that I thought was impressive, makes me love our new GM, was going into all of these signings. We had $33 million in cap space. How much cap space do you think we have after signing Simmons to an extension, bring Green Jackson back, signing the two corners?
21 million.
$27 million left over. Like $6 million of cap space this year. And that was also getting Shelby Harris signed too. Like, how is that even possible? But
so now we can go get Deshaun Watson at a discount.
Right. And I saw somewhere on that one too that there's no of the 18 or whatever 17 civil cases, nobody's brought any evidence forward. So right now it's just she said this with no proof of anything. So if it is all made up, I feel bad for the guy. If it isn't all made up, hopefully they could bring some evidence forward so that they can get their cases won.
Well, I feel like starting in 2019, you are guilty until proven innocent, not the other way around. And so,
for sure, especially for people who are highly followed in social media, in sports, and movies and TV. If some type of allegation comes up on the news, whether it be something little by one news agency, it is the end of you until you can fully prove that it is not correct. So it's sad, but
even then, even when you do prove it,
people still are like, "Oh yeah, I think he did."
The aura, the cloud of doubt is always going to be around you. It's a really unfortunate situation for him, and if he did it, then the 18-19 victims, will call them. It's super crappy, but until we know what we know, it's a really. I'm still on the Deshaun Watson, Bronco train.
Yeah,
because I think and here's the thing: like, do you take a chance? It's do you say, hey, do you come? Do we bring you to the Broncos knowing that you might not play this year because of X, Y, and Z, or do we say, hey, like or not at all?
Yeah. It's hard to say. I mean, you look at what San Francisco gave up for the third best quarterback in the NFL draft this year. They gave up 3 first-round picks, and so if you can get Deshaun Watson with potential suspension for 3 first-round picks, I still think it's worth it. So
Yeah, and I mean, with the trade moves this week, I don't think a quarterback's going to be there at 9 at this point. So
oh no, at this point, you got Trevor Lawrence going one, obviously. Whoever they like best at Jacksonville going two, and then the opposite. So if it's Zach, whatever from BYU, Zach Wilson from BYU, or
Justin Fields.
Fields from OSU, or Trey Lance from North Dakota. So those 3 are kind of all around on everybody's big board. So I think Jacksonville gets one of them. I think San Francisco gets another one.
Jacksonville is the first pick, so they're taking.
Oh, I'm sorry. Not Jacksonville. Jacksonville's taking Trevor Lawrence. The Jets are number 2, right?
Yeah, and then the 49ers.
And I think if the Jets decide that Darnold is their guy, that they're going to trade out of that. I think that's way too valuable of a trade spot to keep if you're not drafting a quarterback this year.
Correct.
So, and then 3, San Francisco's already trying to get their guy.
Would you take Jimmy G as a Bronco?
No, I don't think I would. But I would take Sam Darnold, actually.
You take Sam Darnold over Jimmy G?
Yeah, I do. Sam Darnold is still, like 22 and a half or 23 years old. He was looking pretty good until he got mono, until he had the kissing death. But but he's got some actual potential, and he's just dwindling. He's like kind of going away out in New York, and everybody goes to die in the Jets program. So I actually would take Darnold, obviously over Drew Lock, but I think I would take him over Garoppolo too.
So if you're at 9, do we just take the best player on the board at that point, barring it's not a tight end, or barring it's not a tight end?
I think the Broncos have almost put themselves into a place where they can trade back if they don't like where the board is. If they do, they like that top player, you just pick the best player available. Unless it's the tight end. I don't think Pitts has a spot for us on this team. Even though he's probably going to be a stud, I think him and Fant are going to be. I mean, what would be the point? Yeah. But yeah, best player possible or trade back. Try to get a coverage linebacker, one of the better coverage linebackers, somewhere around 14 to 20.
Yep. No, I agree. It's going to be a really interesting. Draft's in a couple weeks. In a month.
I think we're a month away.
A month out.
It's like the 26th or something of April.
But still, it's going to be fun.
It's going to come right up on us before we know it. It's going to be right around the corner. So let's see. Let's hope for the best. Let's get a quarterback and then win the Super Bowl, and then we can talk about all the good stuff that comes with the Super Bowl party when we're invited on the floats.
Exactly. And then be looking for our official Armchair Quarterback merchandise coming out.
Yes, sir.
Some hats. So type your name in the comment if you'd like to receive a shirt and a hat, compliments of Nick and Mike. But definitely
doing a raffle with all of our fans.
Exactly. And so like and subscribe, and it's gonna be a fun couple of weeks going into the NFL draft. So
awesome, Nick. It was a good time.
Always
everybody, thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys next week.
Peace.